Millennials did exactly what they were told: get a degree, climb the corporate ladder, and buy a house. Their reward? The highest debt-to-income ratio in history and massive financial burnout. Meanwhile, a 22-year-old Gen Z kid is bypassing the corporate grind entirely, retiring early, and completely rewriting the rules of wealth. So who is actually winning the money game? The answer is going to make a lot of people angry. To understand this generational divide, we have to look at the exact financial blueprint millennials were handed. Born between 1981 and 1996, this generation was aggressively sold a flawless, guaranteed formula for the American dream. Go to a prestigious college, take out whatever student loans you need, secure a safe corporate job, buy a starter home, and work your way to the top. So they played by the rules, but the moment they stepped onto the field, the rules completely changed. Millennials graduated with historically massive, predatory student loan debt straight into the teeth of the 2008 Great Recession. Imagine starting a marathon with an 80-pound backpack, only to watch the track collapse beneath your feet. Wage stagnation became the new normal. The high-paying entry-level jobs they were promised vanished, replaced by positions that paid exactly the same as they did in the late 90s. To survive, millennials accidentally invented hustle culture. They glorified the grind, sacrificing their mental health and working agonizing 80-hour weeks just to outrun the rising cost of living. By age 35, millennials held drastically less wealth than baby boomers did at the exact same age. They spent their absolute prime wealth-building years trapped in a vicious cycle, desperately trying to claw their way out of the negative just to reach a baseline of zero. But the defining financial trauma for millennials wasn't just the 2008 crash. It was what happened the moment they finally saved up a little cash. The housing crisis 2.0. Historically, real estate has been the ultimate, undisputed wealth-building vehicle for the middle class. Millennials believed this deeply, but as they entered their late 20s and 30s, institutional investors, massive algorithmic buying, and historically low inventory sent global housing prices into the stratosphere. A modest, fixer-upper starter home went from a reasonable stepping stone to an exclusive luxury asset overnight. As a result, millions of millennials became the permanent rent generation. They are indefinitely trapped in a toxic cycle of paying exorbitant monthly costs to landlords, building absolutely zero equity for their future. Today, millennials are facing unprecedented levels of financial anxiety. They did everything perfectly. They followed the traditional rulebook to the absolute letter, yet they are currently the generation holding the highest amount of unsecured debt. They are constantly juggling credit cards and personal loans just to bridge the widening gap between their stagnant corporate salaries and the exploding cost of groceries, childcare, and basic utilities. The house was supposed to be the ultimate prize. Instead, chasing it bled them dry. Then comes Generation Z. Born between 1997 and 2012, this demographic watched the grinding, soul-crushing millennial struggle and said, "No thanks. We're not playing that game." Gen Z has a radically different relationship with money, driven by one unstoppable advantage: unlimited, instantaneous access to information. While millennials had to rely on clunky financial blogs or expensive traditional advisors, Gen Z grew up native to TikTok finance, YouTube wealth breakdowns, and decentralized Reddit communities. They learned about index funds, compound interest, and the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, before they even got their high school diplomas. Because of this, Gen Z is the most aggressively invested young generation in human history. They didn't wait to pay off all their debt or save up for a house before they started investing. Thanks to fractional shares and zero-fee trading apps like Robinhood, they started throwing $10, $20, or $50 into the global markets while sitting in homeroom. They deeply understand that time in the market beats timing the market, and right now, they have more time than anyone else alive. By starting a full decade earlier than millennials, they don't need to save nearly as much money. They are letting the brutal mathematics of compound interest do the heavy lifting. Gen Z is also aggressively rejecting the traditional corporate career path that trapped millennials. They watched their older siblings give undying loyalty to massive corporations, only to be laid off via a cold, 3-minute Zoom call. Consequently, Gen Z treats traditional employment purely as a ruthless transaction. They are the undisputed masters of job hopping, leveraging the gig economy, and forcefully demanding remote work to keep their overhead costs virtually non-existent. They aren't trying to slowly climb the corporate ladder. They are trying to build multiple, automated streams of income so they can burn the ladder down entirely. A 22-year-old Gen Zer isn't relying on a single fragile salary. They have a remote day job, a lucrative freelance hustle on Upwork, a digital product they sell on Gumroad, and a modest but aggressively growing portfolio of ETFs. They understand that in the digital age, leverage is infinite. A piece of code or a viral video works 24/7. This digital leverage allows them to scale their income exponentially, untethering their earning potential from the physical hours in a day. It's a hyper-efficient approach to capitalism that leaves the traditional millennial resume looking completely obsolete. This brings us to the core, fundamental difference in their financial DNA: stability versus agility. Millennials are still desperately chasing stability. They deeply, emotionally desire the house with the white picket fence, the steady W-2 job, and the traditional markers of adulthood, even though chasing those markers is actively destroying their net worth. Gen Z, on the other hand, is playing highly offensive. They are perfectly content renting a tiny apartment with 3 roommates if it means they can max out their Roth IRA and throw extra cash into high-risk, high-reward digital assets. Gen Z doesn't view a 30-year mortgage as the ultimate goal. They view liquid capital, untouchable freedom, and geographic independence as the ultimate goal. They are taking full advantage of a borderless, globalized digital economy. They are prioritizing, quote, mini retirements and sabbaticals in their 20s, leveraging geo-arbitrage by moving to countries with significantly lower costs of living while earning strong global currencies through remote work. The millennial strategy is inherently defensive. Save pennies, follow a strict budget, and hope the system doesn't crash. The Gen Z strategy is ruthlessly offensive. Maximize top-line income, aggressively invest the delta, and construct a modular life where money serves their freedom. So when the dust finally settles on this generational battlefield, who is actually winning? If you look at absolute dollars today, millennials technically hold more total wealth, but that is simply because they are older and have had more time in the workforce. But true wealth isn't just about the current balance in your bank account. It is entirely about trajectory. Gen Z is accumulating wealth at a significantly faster rate relative to their age than millennials ever did. But more importantly, the very definition of winning has completely shifted. Millennials are still exhausting themselves trying to win a game of Monopoly that was blatantly rigged before they ever rolled the dice. Gen Z walked up to the table, flipped the board over, and started playing a completely different game altogether. They realized early on that true wealth isn't about owning a house with a white picket fence or having a fancy corporate title. True wealth is absolute control over your own time. And by that metric, Gen Z might just be the most terrifyingly efficient, unapologetically ruthless wealth-building generation we have ever seen. Which side of the generational divide are you actually on? Are you trapped in the exhausting millennial grind, playing by the old rules? Or are you running the highly optimized Gen Z playbook to buy back your time? The world of money is changing faster than ever, and if you aren't adapting, you are being left behind. Drop a comment below and let the massive debate begin. I want to hear from both sides. And if you want a complete, step-by-step deep dive into the exact investment strategies and digital side hustles Gen Z is using to build this invisible wealth, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in the next one.